It's a misty morning outside, so what better day than to make a spooky little craft project for my doll's house. I've decided to make something a little bit fun for my doll's house today. Seeing as it's the spooky season, we're coming up to Halloween, so it's a nice little Halloween easy craft for you to do if you fancy trying it. So I'm using a glass dish to stop my project from sticking to my table. This is just a really thin, almost translucent piece of fabric. It's actually an offcut from a piece of curtain that I have at my bedroom window. I didn't cut it off just for this project, by the way. We had to alter the curtains so that they fit, but I kept the offcuts. And I just simply used some tin foil to make this figure shape. It measures about 10 centimetres high and it has a flat base so that it'll stand up by itself. I draped the piece of fabric over the tin foil and I just used some scissors to cut around the bottom, leaving a bit of a trail at the back and just using quite jagged motions as I cut, so it's not a smooth shape at all. And once I was happy with this shape, I used some PVA glue to drench the fabric so that it was all soaked in the glue. And then I just gently rubbed it until it was moulded to the shape that I wanted. It was a messy job, but it was fun to do. And it was easy as well, so it is something that I would recommend trying if you fancy making a little Halloween ghost. So I twisted the fabric a little bit and paid particular attention to where the fabric sat on the base, because this would be the bit that will help to keep my ghost standing up when I remove the tin foil later. So that little strip of fabric that I cut off earlier, I was using for a little collar to go around my ghost, because it is, after all, going into a Tudor doll's house. I wanted it to be a Tudor ghost. This might be something that not everybody wants to add to their little ghost. But it was important for me because it was going to go into a doll's house from the Tudor era. So I concertinaed the fabric up just by putting a running stitch through the centre, and then I stitched it around the collar area. I put a little stitch through the fabric that I'd draped over the figure, over the tin foil, and that fabric also still had glue on it, so as well as the stitch holding it in place, the stickiness of the glue that hadn't dried yet helped to hold it in place. I didn't add any extra glue to the collar. And then I just tied a little knot in the last stitch before snipping off the cotton. My little ghost was then left to dry for a day. Once it was all dry, it's time to remove the tin foil, so I gently just teased this out. A little bit of advice would be, when making your tinfoil structure, use several bits of tinfoil rather than one whole bit. This makes it easier to pull out one little bit at a time. The fabric had dried firm, but it was still delicate, so I didn't want to ruin the shape of the ghost. So I just gently teased this out. It took quite a while to do because I was being careful. And then I had the structure of my ghost. So next it was time to add a little face, which obviously creates its personality. So I used some black eyeshadow and just gently put two subtle little eyes on and just blew the excess eyeshadow away. And I was being careful here because I just wanted a suggestion of an expression. My ghost is a kind ghost, not a scary ghost. But obviously if you want a scary ghost, you might want to put a different expression on its face. You might want to put a mouth, you might want to think about some angled eyebrows. One thing that I am unsure of, and I've not done it yet, is whether or not to add some eyeshadow to the rest of the ghost to make it less white and less pristine. So please let me know in the comments what you think. But for now, my little ghost is settling into the doll's house, just ready in time for Halloween, and I think she likes it. I'm thinking I might make the two rooms in the loft space her rooms for when it's not the spooky season. Let me know what you think, let me know if you make your own, and thank you so much for watching. Spooky the ghost is very happy in her Tudor doll's house.